some point didn't really take care of myself. All I could see is what's ahead of me, what I wanted to achieve. With other things, it really shaped me to the way I am today.
Welcome to the Ill Noise Business Playbook. We sit down with people building real impact in their communities and unpack the vision behind their work. If you care about real stories and real connection, you're in the right place. Let's make some noise. Hey, welcome to the Ill Noise Business Playbook. I'm here with Dr. Liang from Wellbridge. Dr. Liang, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely. And I say it all the time, but we always just want people to support us like we support them. And I love looking on Instagram and seeing that you've liked and loved and commented and stuff. That's really wonderful. So we really appreciate that. And like I say, we consider this a partnership. We consider this a community that we're building. So as much as the support you're showing for us, trust me when I say we'll continue to show our support to you. If you have events, we'll try to be there. We'll try to market them. We'll try to really work together. We think that if we do this, we can really just help each other out. And that's what this is all about. So we want to help you out. We just want to see you do, what you can to help us as well.
Absolutely.
You've got a very cool story, and I'd love for you to share how potentially one of your parental figures kind of inspired some of the things that you're doing right now. If you'd be so kind as to share that with the audience.
Sure. It's actually my only parental figure. So I actually grew up in New York City, and my mom, I was only child. So It was, I was very spoiled, regardless of circumstances, right? My mom was a single parent, and she had a very good skill. She's been a seamstress all her life. So I grew up with her always being on the sewing machine. Interestingly, if I think about my childhood, before I go to sleep, I would hear her going at it with her sewing machine. And when I wake up in the morning, I can still hear her going at it with the sewing machine.
Wow.
So it amazes me thinking back, how little did this woman sleep, right? So she had a daytime job, and then she would bring work home at night. So, if she's awake for, 18, 20 hours a day, she's probably working 16 hours, right? Nonstop. Yeah. So it made me really realize how important I am to her, right?
Yes.
So, and also learning just work ethics. You have to really put work into it for something to thrive, to grow. And there are mistakes that you can make, but you don't really fail. All you do when you try new things is that you learn from it.
Great.
Yeah. So, interestingly, when I was little, we got into this car accident and she became partially disabled. So when I say partially disabled, she wasn't not working. She's obviously worked all her life. She always had a problem with her foot, because her foot was completely shattered. So she was in rehab for maybe an entire year. Back then, you could stay in rehab for a whole year. Nowadays, they'll kick you out after 6 weeks.
Sure.
So as a rehab doctor, I can attest to that.
Sure.
But, she's never let that stop her. When you work in New York City, you always have to commute. Not only are you on the train for an hour, you have to walk from the train station to where you work.
Sure.
So that's what she did. She was never able to jog or run. When the weather changes, she always has pain, but she massages it for a little bit and she goes back to her sewing machine. So, I probably didn't appreciate her as much when I was younger, but I think that, you learn these things subconsciously when you're a child, and whether you realize it or not. So thinking back, I think that she really helped me build a foundation of who I am today. Yeah. And it was, like I said, I was completely spoiled. I was only child. So no complaints about that.
So it would then in turn sort of obviously inspire why you would want to get in the medical field because of some of the medical issues she had. I want to take a step back because I'm somebody that is from the Chicagoland area. In my previous iteration of my career, I was traveling constantly. So how long have you been here, or how long were you in New York for before you kind of came over to the Chicagoland area?
We moved over here shortly after my fellowship. So we would do a residency, which is physical medicine and rehab. That's actually one of the reasons I chose my specialty, because we help people with disabilities.
Okay.
And then after that, I did a fellowship in pain medicine. So my specialty, and my two specialties is rehab and pain medicine. So I help people try to get out of pain. I moved here with my son, who at that time was about 2, and my husband when in 2011. So that was shortly after my fellowship, maybe a year after my fellowship.
How have you been able to deal with the pizza situation, Dr. Liang? That's always
That's a really good one.
That's always have you been able to, are you okay slumming it with the rest of us here in Chicagoland?
I don't think my husband has because he's always been a big pizza guy. So good, great thing about this is that I'm not a pizza person. So
Okay.
it really made no difference to me.
Okay.
But between the bagel and the pizza, yeah, he can't stand it. So yeah, New York also have great bagels.
Yes, they do. Yes. No, New York's got some wonderful food, wonderful culture. I certainly enjoyed traveling there, but it's always been a point. And I will tell you, for everybody listening that maybe is not from the Chicagoland area, most people from Chicago don't actually eat deep dish pizza. We all eat thin crust pizza out here. Okay, so enough with this. Well, it's New York's better because it's not deep dish. I call it special pizza. It's people in town to show them the way pizza is what I tell you. But so you've been here for quite a while, and you were mentioning your son, correct?
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about some of the things that were occurring during that time that kind of has helped make you the amazing person that you are today?
Well, thank you for that. Saying I'm amazing. So
you're welcome.
I grew up in an environment where you have to thrive, and really self-validation is from external, how much you can achieve and how much you can go for certain goals and how can you measure up to other people around you. And I think for most of us, when we grow up in very humble beginnings, that's what it's ingrained us, right? So
Sure.
I became a physician. I became a physician who helped people with disability because of my mom. But I really, at some point, didn't really take care of myself. All I could see is what's ahead of me, what I wanted to achieve. So when my son was in utero, when he was still before birth,
Okay.
I started not feeling very well, but I just felt like, I've never been pregnant. This is the way I'm supposed to feel. After he was born, it became really, really difficult because I was very physically fit. I was running until I was 5 months pregnant. And when I gave birth, I was a completely different person. I was losing weight tremendously. First, again, I thought this is supposed to be you give birth and you breastfeed and you're supposed to be this 90-pound person. I mean, it never dawned on me that something was wrong. But when it became really unbearable living my daily life, I couldn't open a water bottle because I couldn't use my hands when I would drive, and I get out of my car and I couldn't really swing my leg out because it just hurt so much. So I knew something was, at that point, I was like, oh, maybe I should go see a doctor, right? So I
you
went
just
to
looked in the mirror and you said, okay, what's going on, right?
Right. And I went to see actually a couple of specialists. I saw endocrinology, I saw rheumatology. I really didn't have the answers. They said maybe this is pregnancy hormonal change related, or this is, coming from an autoimmune disease that just kind of set on with pregnancy. So they obviously gave me medications that suppressed my immune system short term. And what it really turned out was, after a while, I kind of figured out there were some things that I didn't follow up on, which when I was pregnant, my OB-GYN didn't make a big deal out of it. It turned out that the lump in my breast was breast cancer. Yeah. So I found that out when my son was 6 months old.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was an interesting learning time. So, but I mean, I went through it and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the medical system at the perspective of the patient. And it really, again, with other things, it really shaped me to the way I am today.
What's your current diagnosis?
I've been on remission for over 10 years. So
beautiful.
Thank you.
I love stories like that. It's a very, very, I've got my own personal story as far as that is concerned, but I'm so thankful. That's wonderful. We'll keep on shining, keep on doing wonderful stuff. When we were introduced to you, we got a little warm transfer email from one of our wonderful advocates, somebody that's just so near and dear to our heart, Daria from Desserts Without Regrets. Just out of curiosity, how'd you get to know that wonderful person?
Oh, Daria is great, and I love her dessert as much I love her. She and I got connected because we have a mutual friend, and the person knows that This clinic is based on wellness, eating right, exercising, taking care of yourself. So I was introduced to Daria because she makes these great, healthy, tasty desserts.
Yes, she does.
It actually turned out to be the month that I needed 2 cakes. I mean, I never needed cakes, right? But that's the month that like my anniversary, my son's birthday, my husband's birthday. So I actually got a couple of cakes from her that month when we met. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was delicious. I mean, it was vegan. It was never had a chocolate ganache cake the way that it tasted, like even with the regular ingredients.
She does these she makes amazing food and all of it is wonderful, but she makes these small little cheesecakes that are kind of bite-sized and stuff. And I may or may not have had one earlier today. They're absolutely phenomenal. Well, that's great. I love, that's really what we really want is we're trying to have our community kind of bring more people together so we can all kind of get to know each other and stuff. So as far as Wellbridge is considered, like when did you start this whole process that you were going to do your own practice like this?
Yeah, so I've been doing interventional pain for 15 years, which just means that I help people with pain. They come to me and I find out the sources of pain, and I do interventions and rehabilitation to help them get out of pain. And so for many, many years, my focus has really been on doing interventional injections to take care of the pain generator. Over time, though, with me just kind of recovering from cancer, just being a middle-aged person, right? Not feeling well and not recovering as well. I really started going down this path and thinking, what if there's more to what you see, which is a pain generator. Instead of taking care of the pain generator, start asking myself, why am I so inflamed? Why are everybody else I see so inflamed? How much is the nervous system have to do with this? And what is it about our environment and our gut health that really affect the way that we perceive pain and inflammation and also like chronic fatigue?
Sure.
So a couple of years ago, I embarked on this journey, just kind of learning more, getting more certifications on functional medicine. So when I was in the conventional medicine world, I incorporated that practice as much as I could, with the limitation of, only 10 minutes per patient, right?
Yes.
Really kind of incorporate that into my practice. And I felt that it was a lot more gratifying and the patient's outcomes are a lot better because I did that. And they really appreciate me seeing them as a whole person. And being a rehabilitation doctor, which is also called physiatrist, that's really our goal. We usually have a team of people and we help the patient feel better from either a stroke or a brain injury or any kind of injury. So, earlier last year, I decided that I think this is a good time for it. I am without too much financial burden. I am young enough to start something.
You are.
Old enough to be wise, to understand the nuances of things. So I decided to kind of jump right into it, open up the clinic back in October. So this clinic is 6 months old in Palatine.
What do you wish you knew 6 months ago that you know now about running your business?
I always thought, and I always knew there's a need for this type of medicine because I needed it. Sure. Everybody else I saw needed it. And I saw a lot of patients over 15 years. Okay. But my thinking was, if you build it, they'll come. But I don't think that's true.
It is a famous line from a movie called Field of Dreams, by the way.
Yes.
But okay. So now, one of the best things about having your own business, you have a lot of autonomy. You're kind of running your own thing. You're answering to yourself. And I think you've sort of alluded to some of the restrictions at times that you experienced when you're working for other health organizations. But how in the world are you getting the word out as far as what you're doing? You certainly have a really nice social media presence, but what other things do you do? Or are there networking events you go to? Are you involved with any chambers? I mean, how are you getting the word out about all the beautiful things you're doing at Wellbridge?
Well, that's the other thing I've learned. I've really never networked in my entire life before I had my own business. Okay. So that was a brand new thing for me. So I joined a chamber as a first thing. So I joined the Palatine Chamber. Okay. And then so there was a lot of events that I would go to. And within the chamber, there's also other smaller groups. So I belong to this Women Empower group in the chamber. So I joined that as well. And then over time, I realized that I have some time to myself. I needed a schedule. So I looked into M Spirit.
Okay.
So I belong to the chapter in M Spirit in Barrington. And then there's some also random women groups that I go to like on a monthly basis. So I do a lot of networking. And then on top of that, when you go to these groups, you actually see individual people that you want to connect with one-on-one. So I also have meetings every week on top of that. So that's how I network.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about that, because I used to deal with this all the time when I would hire people to be on my sales team. And some people would even claim, I can't really be salesy. And then I'd kind of talk to them, break down like just different ways that, you want to be a human. You just want to be a person, and you just want to connect with folks, and you want to listen, and you want to process, and you want to respond accordingly. From somebody that wasn't used to doing those sort of things, how have you been able to navigate through that? And do you feel much more comfortable today, per se, than you did when you started this journey, as far as getting in front of folks and talking about, probably the most important thing we should talk about, and that's what we're doing with our life's work?
I think it's important to talk about, what you offer, but I also realize that what's actually more important, and I can relate that actually being a rehab doctor, it's your ability to connect other people when they have something in common.
Yes.
So when you know more people and you have a better understanding of what their profession is and how they want to focus their business on, you can connect them with other people. They can help each other. So like being a connector of some sorts, and that's like being a doctor too. Like you're trying to connect the dots, right?
Sure.
So there is a seriously parallel into this, like the skill you learn as a doctor, because you have all these weird symptoms and you're trying to connect them together. Now you're seeing all different professions you've never been exposed before. And now you have the opportunity to learn what they do, first of all. And now you can say, well, you know what? You can benefit from meeting this other person. And
Absolutely.
I think the best way to network is actually try to be helpful. I think it's great that you get to talk about yourself and
Sure.
you can, talk about the services, but not everybody would need your service.
Right.
But if you are somebody who's helpful, they will actually remember you better that way than what you do.
I love what you're saying, because what you're really doing is you're talking about establishing trust with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you're doing anything at all, and you can talk to somebody and you can realize that maybe what you provide is not the best fit for them, but you can connect with them with somebody else that establishes such beautiful trust. It really improves your reputation, and they're going to want to look out for you in the future if they need your services or not, because of that resource that you are becoming. So I think that's a really wonderful takeaway. I wish most people would kind of go into connecting events, to networking events, with that thought to connect rather than just to sell themselves. I think that's really beautiful. You've probably seen a lot of changes happen here. How do you continue to stay up to date? You said that you were continually getting different trainings and certificates and so on and so forth, but how do you stay on the cusp of what you're currently doing so that you can provide the best quality service that you can?
I mean, you always have to walk into a problem with curiosity, right?
Sure.
So if you have to be open-minded. I think what you find in conventional medicine sometimes is somebody comes in and they say that they're very sensitive to electromagnetic wave, and then they would have a very strange look from their provider. But
Sure.
I mean, how do we know that is not partially true, right? So when I always, aside from, doing more certifications and taking more courses and reading journals and always participate in conferences, which is what I think most of us do, you also have to be curious and think about things that you're unsure of. I mean, if you don't know something, ask where their sources are. Maybe you can learn something from it. Maybe there are things and evidence of things you don't expect, problems that might come in that you have never learned. And I think that's how it is. I mean, I just want to be curious, because I know that there's so much, the older I get, the more I feel that I don't know. Honestly, like when I was younger, I would think that I know a lot of things.
Sure.
But now you walk into a room, you're like, I don't know most things.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But it's good to have that acknowledgement of our own, we're all fallible, right? So for us to think that for some reason we got it all figured out, boy, oh boy. And please stop saying how you continue saying this, how you're getting older. And I know I'm older than you. So you stop it, Dr. Liang, okay? Like you're very young. You're in the heartbeat of your life. Was your mom disappointed that she didn't become a seamstress?
Well, you know what the ironic thing is? She's an expert of needles, and so am I. I'm the expert of needle injecting people's spine.
Well, then you're bringing everything together, Dr. Liang. I love it. That is so wonderful.
It's a lot of reflection.
Do you still go out to New York? Do you still have family out there?
She moved to New Jersey. Yeah. So she usually come here, but intermittently we go to New York because she came from a big family and she's the oldest. So her entire family is still in Brooklyn.
Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. Bring some deep dish pizza next time you go, just to mess. You've been doing this for a while, but you've been in this category of things for a while with being a doctor and being in the medical service. But I imagine that there's been some folks along the way that you've been able to provide some service for that really sort of quantify that you're doing the right thing. It's always, if we can find out that we have our passion in practice, if we can find out that we're doing what we were, that we feel comfortable, we can go to sleep every night and go, you know what, I accomplished something good in the world, right? And you being a doctor, of course, you're probably doing that all the time. But love for you to share with us a story or two about some folks along the way that you've been able to help and provide some really wonderful service that really just lights you up and puts a big old smile on your heart.
I mean, ultimately, you want people to function and be the best version of themselves, right? Health-wise.
Sure.
And it's just not about, pain and inflammation. It's about their mind. Or do they feel grounded? Do they feel safe? I love the fact that before even we started this interview, you had mentioned to me this is a safe place. And I think that is so important to feel. But so many people come to me, they really at the end of their ropes. They've seen either many conventional medical doctors, was told that they have, chronic fatigue or chronic pain or fibromyalgia, not any specific things that they could treat with. They come up to me, what I see is just overloaded inflammation. So they are between the age of, 30 to 65.
Okay.
Right. So I do have a young woman who's in her early 30s who has not been feeling well since high school. Really started with some gut issues, been to multiple doctors and also functional medicine providers. But her functional status just really declined the last couple of years. It was even difficult for her to walk 2 blocks without being short of breath.
Ugh.
And her heart is, she's always had this heart palpitations. It's racing. Why is it working so hard? So it turns out that she had celiac disease that was undiagnosed until she saw me. So celiac disease is a true allergy to gluten, which gluten is a protein in wheat and other things. She's probably been celiac all her life, but even seeing other specialists or functional doctors, they didn't find that out.
Okay.
So that itself, taking out gluten in her life, really changed her life. But now she's just waiting to do other things to recover, right? Because her gut has been under an insult all her life, if not severely the last 10 years. So we have to heal her gut, bring the movement back to her life. It's kind of amazing. She used to tell me that because it had been affecting her brain for so long, that she would, if anything that's moving or something that's a slightly vibration, she would get dizzy and she would want to fall down. But now, I asked her to use a vibration plate for lymphatic drainage and detoxification. She's been slowly incorporating that. She's typing and working on it like 6 hours a day.
That's beautiful.
She's able to do like balancing yoga moves on a vibration plate, which is like amazing. She's never done that before. And I think for now, our next step is really incorporating more movement, more physical challenges in her life, but not to the point where she's exhausted. So now she can be in better health. So, for people who have chronic issues, I think it's easy to say that there's maybe a diet, maybe a supplement, something you do, that's something you take.
Sure.
It can get you out of that pickle. But more often than not, you really have to understand the gut-brain connection and not only treat the imbalances in your body medically, but also address this sympathetic fight or flight drive. If you've been having gluten and have celiac disease, your body's always thinking something dangerous is coming up. So, addressing the nervous system regulation is also a major thing. And that's what the clinic is also designed for.
You've been so driven for so long. Do you attest it all to sitting there? And I mean, it's got to be from sitting around and watching your mom just hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle when she was raising you. Is that where you attribute a lot of this drive that you have that burns through you?
Yeah. But I also a sense of ungroundedness or a sense of danger, right? I mean, that's all you have never seen somebody who relaxes. You've never seen somebody who's grounded, who is mindful. You always seeing somebody who is thinking the next thing that's going to happen may be dangerous, that also condition your brain that way, and it does not allow it to rest. So, I think that there's positive and negative to this. The drive, definitely, also a sense of like, I don't want to fall back to in which I have to have that kind of lifestyle, right? Like she never made me feel like I was lacking anything. That's the thing. I actually didn't know what life was like until I went to medical school.
Sure.
When my classmates was buying furnitures at Ethan Allen. I don't know if you know what Ethan Allen was. I don't know if they have it in the Midwest. Basically, it's like a West Elm. It's like a pretty pricey furniture store. So, I would be early 20-year-old. I would go to Goodwill and get myself a couch because I needed a couch in medical school. And then there are these people who, their parents, they're lawyers and they're doctors. They would go to, a West Elm or Pottery Barn, okay, to get their furniture. So I actually didn't know there was a whole new world out there. Like I grew up thinking, because everybody was, blue collar, working class. So I just thought, oh, that's the way life is. I was in a completely different environment.
Again, what you went through post pregnancy has a lot to kind of part of my story. My father passed away to cancer when I was.
I'm sorry.
When I was 18 years old, it was a long time, but you never forget. But what can you what kind of advice would you give to somebody that gets a diagnosis and how that they can kind of try to navigate it, obviously with their doctor assistance, but also with, support of their family and maybe support of, therapeutic options as well? What sort of advice could you give to folks that are going through what you went through? And knock on wood, thank God, God is wonderful that you've been able to overcome it.
I agree with you. Conventional medicine definitely has a role. I mean, regular medicine saves lives, and we should never downplay that.
Sure.
But at the same time, we really have to look into what can we do to support our own body healing. When you have cancer, it's likely the immune system. It's either overreactive or underreactive or both, right? It's not responding properly. Once you are treated, and sometimes the treatments can be very rough, chemotherapy or radiation or even surgery. But once you're stabilized, I think it's really time to kind of look back and say, what is it in my past experience that I'm not supporting my nervous system? What is it in how can I make myself more grounded? And for me, my transformation came in when I realized that I need to show self-compassion.
Nice.
And show self-forgiveness.
It's beautiful.
I think before that, I had no idea what being grounded means because I was always ungrounded. And I felt that was normal.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I think that's going to be very helpful for a lot of folks out there, by the way, that are dealing with things or family members are dealing with things. So thank you. Thank you for your spending time with us. Thank you for your authenticity. Thanks for your honesty. Thank you for being so forthright. Thank you for all the beautiful things you're doing out there in the world. Thank you for not trashing Chicago pizza. But really, just thank you so much. We really appreciate spending time with you. I really, I got a lot out of this, and I know the audience will as well. So appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Liang.
Thank you. And then I appreciate you, Aneha, for creating a community and really creating a local community where we can all support each other.
Beautiful. Very well said. You have yourself a wonderful day, okay?
You too.